Hello and welcome to the 61st episode of the Sockmatician podcast. My name is Nathan Taylor, also known as Sockmatician on Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on YouTube. Today is the 11th of April and I have got so much to tell you, but more importantly than that, I am delighted to welcome back to the sofa my very special guest, Abbie Jones. Hello, Abbie.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're here. How long has it been since you were last on the sofa with me?
2 years.
It can't be that long. Podcast isn't that old, but it's a long time. I've only been going for 2 years. I'm coming up to my podiversary, I believe. I think it's May, but it's been in one of the early ones. Someone will know what edition it was, but it's a long time
with
ago.
the cats.
Yeah, when you were with that. When was that? How long have you lived in your house?
Oh, it would have been 2 years, because that's before we were in the old flat.
There we are.
There
Fabulous. Abbie is going to be sitting here, knitting away, chatting, enjoying herself, and we're going to cut in and out of stuff that we can do with Abbie, but at the moment she's going to very, very kindly just let me burble on and babble on and see what's going on. So I'm going to go into the roundup, which is where I just chat about what I've been doing. I might ask you a few questions as well. Is that okay?
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
marvellous. And just so you know, the dot's over here.
Great, thanks very much.
I have been a very, very busy boy. It's only been 2 weeks since I saw you last, and I'm really, not you, them, and I'm really, really happy that I didn't leave it quite as long as I did last time, which was 2 months, and I hated it. But momentous news indeed. On Friday last week, today is Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Friday last week was my deadline for delivering my book to my publisher. It was really, really scary. Abbie knows that I've been a bit of an absent friend recently. I've literally spent all day, every day for the last couple of months, most of this year, with my nose firmly immersed in writing my book. This is really exciting. I have been let off the leash and I can actually talk about the book. So you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to find out any details about it. Abbie knows quite a bit about it already. Because Abbie's my very good friend. And because you're my good friends, you shall know about it soon as well. Can I just ask what it is you're knitting? I know the answer to that, but could you also share it with the people at home?
I can indeed. I am knitting the Kyna, I presume that is how it's pronounced, scarf, shawl by Lucy Hague, Celtic Cable Shawls.
Everyone knows that I'm a massive fan of Lucy Hague's work. Everyone knows I think she's amazing and she's a complete genius. So it's actually thanks to Abbie knitting that I even know who Lucy is to begin with. This is not a naming and shaming, but how long has that been on the needles?
Oh, year and a half?
Yeah, good. But that's because you've been sidetracked with other things, not because it's an impossible knit.
Yes, lots of socks, mostly in your own pattern as well, so you should be pleased with that one.
So Abbie's been doing it's Kyna, isn't it?
I think it's Kyna, yeah, Kyna.
That'll do for me. Lucy, if you're watching, and I don't think you do, but if you are watching, then please let me know if we're pronouncing that correctly. It's absolutely... Can I show the photograph? I'm just going to show half the page because it's a paid-for pattern, but isn't that gorgeous? Look at the colour, look at that lovely Celtic cable. Just stunning. Stunning.
Very cool.
And what's the yarn you're using, please? It's very shiny.
It is the Wool Kitchen, merino and silk.
Is that quite a high silk content? Because
I think it is, yes.
Look at it, it's like magic. Look at that magic trick. That actually looks really nice on screen. Let me try it again. Oh. No, I can't do it. No, it's not going to work.
It's the way I've rolled it up.
Just unraveling. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's Wool Kitchen.
Wool Kitchen.
Do they have
completely
blocking your face?
I don't think they have specific names. I did look it up the other day.
Look at the sheen on that. I think because there's so much texture in the shawl, but a large portion of it is stocking stitch, and everyone knows I love stocking stitch. It's going to shimmer and sheen beautifully. I'm going to show it up to everybody and let them see. Oh, it's gorgeous. I hold out these cables as well, so people... It's hard to see in this light, but there. Lucy's signature, beautiful, continuous cables. There's nothing cabled down... Oh, you can't see. Nothing cabled down here. It starts there with this beautiful, sinuous cable. Oh, everything Lucy does is a joy and a delight. I sit sometimes looking at her website and just go, oh, she's ever so good.
I'm looking forward to finishing this one, but also starting another one at some point.
Do you have the next one in mind? Did I help with enabling that only last night, perhaps?
Possibly, that's all right. Maybe another one from the book, which my lovely husband bought me some wool for.
Fabulous.
Otherwise, I may be buying a pattern from the website.
Bane.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Lucy Hague's new pattern, which was launched for EYF a couple of weeks ago, is called Bane, and she's absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to hide Abbie's beautiful face with a picture of it here right now. It's gone. You're back in the room.
Thank you.
So the book got delivered. I have been slaving away on that for a long time. I was first contacted by Louise, who's my editor, I think it was May last year, and now we're in April, so this has been brewing for almost 12 months. And I should have started writing a lot sooner than I did, but for various reasons. Some of you will be able to guess which ones they are. I had stuff going on in my life last year, and I didn't get round to writing it. I wasn't in the right mind space to do it. So there's been a bit of a rush over the last 3 months, really, post-Christmas, to get an entire book done, and done to a standard which I'm happy with. I'm not going to say it's the best book in the world, because that would be hubristic beyond all belief. I'm actually quite pleased with it. I am. I wasn't sure. Abbie's a creative person. Abbie is a singer and actress, and Abbie knows what I'm about to say and will recognise, I'm sure. With every creative process, you go through ups and downs of self-belief and self-doubt. And the self-doubt is really, really crippling. And I've been through a couple of patches like that with this book. I do it with any show. I think, I can't do this. I'm not going to sing that song very well. I can't dance well enough. And then you go, actually, do you know what? I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm pretty good at this. And that's what I'd like to keep thinking. But there's it's charlatan syndrome, isn't it? There's the whole thing in life where you constantly feel that someone's going to find out that it's only you.
Also, we're British, and we very self-deprecating as well.
Do you know what? Write in. I usually say don't write in. If you are from the North American continent particularly, and you do or don't recognise what we've just been saying about constantly feeling that, I'm so British, I couldn't possibly push myself forward. Oh, no. It's no good. The only time I've ever really done the whole pushing forward thing was, and shamelessly and deliberately, and it hurt, was last year when I was contacting the people at Rhinebeck. I decided I wanted to teach at Rhinebeck, and I sent an email, and I thought, I was going to say it would be lovely if you have any slots, and maybe you wouldn't mind if I was able to come and teach. And I thought, what are you doing? These people are American. They're at the top of their game, because Rhinebeck is kind of the top of the tree.
Yeah.
I have to make them think that I'm worthy of being there. Whether or not I am is another matter, and not for me to say. But I had to really force myself, and Ben bullied me as well, to write a letter that tooted my own horn, an email that tooted my own horn.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Really hard.
We are bred in this country not to put your head above the parapet for fear that someone's going to take a pot shot, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's nice. So with the book, I have gone through ups and downs, and it was proper panic. I had to deliver on Friday last week. I had planned to deliver on Thursday, or at least be able to, then knowing I had Friday morning to tweak things. I wanted not to leave it to the last minute. I wanted to deliver about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just to say, look, isn't this easy? Isn't it relaxed? There you go, have a book. 3 o'clock came and went. I thought, well, 5 o'clock, because that's before close of business. 5 o'clock came and went.
Oh.
And then I got an email from my editor. Are we still on? Do you think we're still on schedule to get the delivery of the manuscript today? I was like, absolutely. I can't take the time to even write this email because I'm buried in it now. And then I said, by 5:30 you'll have it. I missed 5:30, but by 6 minutes.
Hey.
I pushed the button at 5:36 on Friday, and I was in my office, which is next door. I call it my office. It's my bedroom. I had someone on Skype last night, a work chat on Skype last night, and Ben was in here watching television, and I said, to my friend on Skype, and it was a business arrangement. We're friendly. We've never met in person. She's not in this country, but we were talking business. And I said, let me just take you in here, and I carried her into the bedroom and said, "This is where the magic happens." I said, meaning this is my office. Thankfully, she saw the funny side. When I pushed that button, Ben came racing in. He knew this was going to be a momentous occasion for me, and I pressed send and immediately burst into tears. It literally went so. My little lip went. I was sitting on the bed and Ben was standing next to me. I had to hug his sort of torso. It had been a big deal.
Yeah.
So that was that, and that's done. Of course, it's never done, because as soon as you then glance at, by chance, you glance at a page, you spot a typo. That you have painstakingly gone through every page and proofread everything. There's millions. There's still loads. The last 2 days have also been about the book. I've been down in Somerset. Oh, before we get to that, I've been down in Somerset since Saturday morning. I was teaching at a yarn story. That's not just any old yarn story. There's a shop called A Yarn Story, which is in Bath, which is run by my good friends Amanda and Carmen. Now, Carmen said to me at a show ages ago, I can't remember when it was, maybe it was November, maybe it might have been Nottingham Yarn Expo last year. She said, would I come down and teach at her shop in Bath? So yes, of course. Maybe it was even like Yarnporium last year, a year and a bit ago?
Yeah.
Like a long time ago. And we set this date in the diary. I'd sort of forgotten it was happening. I know I've put the dates online and everything. I just focus on other things. And then I got an email from Amanda at the shop last week saying, "We're really looking forward to seeing you on Saturday." I was like, please don't tell me I've forgotten I'm supposed to be teaching. Please don't tell me I just haven't put it in my diary and I've committed to a class. This is bad Sockmatician. I opened my diary. There it was, clearly, A Yarn Story, Bath. So, okay, as long as it's in the diary, I'm aware of it. I've genuinely... Do you go through phases where you live, like, a couple of days ahead? You don't dare look any further because you're so busy, it's all too overwhelming.
Yeah, my diary's ridiculous.
Well, you've got how many jobs?
3, 4.
Mm-hmm. And you've just taken on all the other stuff with the production of Oliver that you're doing as well. Not only is she playing the leading lady of Nancy, but she's also MDing it as well. And for those people not in the musical theatre business, MD does not mean managing director, it means musical director. For my sins. Yeah. She's a good music reader and a good singist, so she's good for the job.
Thank you.
So that was teaching, and it was really, really lovely. So to everybody who was there at my class, it was the Demystifying Double Knitting class. We had a lot of fun. We had some banana flapjacks. Amanda made some lovely banana flapjacks. And I had 6 ladies and 1 man in my class, which is always nice to have a gender mix, which is always delightful. And it was a really, really lovely day. I've always loved Bath. I used to live not far from Bath, and I've always said a little part of me will always be in Bath.
Okay.
And by a little part, I mean 2 little parts, namely my adenoids.
Okay.
It's absolutely true. When I was a child, I was in and out of hospital quite a lot, and our local was the Bath Royal Infirmary. I've had about 7 operations on my ears, my grommets and T-tubes and all sorts of stuff, because I was very deaf as a child. People say that explains how I sing these days. I had my adenoids out. I had veins in my nose cauterised twice because of like chronic ongoing nosebleeds.
Oh.
I have other operations as well that I won't go into in a public forum. And so I know Bath quite well, but only as a child. And going back to it, I'd forgotten what an absolutely beautiful city it is. Yeah. There's a really lovely atmosphere there. The people were very, very friendly, as West Country folk tend to be. West Country boy through and through. And Carmen's shop. Now, I'm not sure if it's Carmen's shop and Amanda works there, or if it's jointly owned. So if I've misnamed that, I apologise. But the shop, A Yarn Story, is absolutely beautiful. It's on Walcott Street or Walcott Road, which is in the Artisan Quarter.
Nice.
I don't know if it's the self-titled artisan quarter, but there's certainly loads and loads of lovely arty shops there. And a yarn story being one of them. Really, really lovely selections of stuff. They've got a big wall dedicated to La Bien-Aimée, some really gorgeous yarns, just really, really lovely. So if you're in the area, I cannot recommend patronising that store enough. That's not me patronising it, I mean going there as a patron, quite clearly. And then I was going to, I would have come home Saturday night, but I had to be near Yeovil on Monday morning. So I thought, well, I could drive 3 hours home Saturday night and then Sunday night drive 3 hours back down, or I could stay with my dad, who lives in Weston-super-Mare, which is only an hour away from either of those two places. So I phoned my dad and said, do you happen to be free on Saturday night? Because I'm going to be in Somerset and I'd love to come and visit you, and crash. And he said, I'm going to be in London. Ridiculous. He was down for one of my stepmother's granddaughters, so they call him granddad. He's their granddad too, but not by blood. And birthday party. She was 10? 9? Somewhere around 8 to 10 she was, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Sophie? I forget which one it is. There's Sophie and Lucy, and I don't know which one was which. I mean, I do know which one was which one. I've seen them. I don't know whose birthday it was. I'm so sorry. And I know my dad's watching. So he wasn't there.
Okay.
But he said, I'll leave the key.
Yeah.
So I stayed there. Sad news. What that meant I missed was a celebration of the life of a good friend of mine who passed away 2 weeks ago. It was one of the cast of Naked Boys Singing.
Oh no.
The second of the cast of Naked Boys Singing to leave this earth in the last 4 years. So Rudy, I love you and I miss you very, very much. And there was a celebration of his life at one of the pubs in South London, the Two Brewers. And Rudy was the life and soul of any party, genuinely the life and soul. He was just 31, or he was approaching 31, so no age at all, and it was a very sad accident that led to his death, as far as I'm led to believe. I don't know any of the details. But so I wanted to be there for that. I agonised with the decision, and I finally thought, well, I could make a 6-hour round trip. The event doesn't start till 5 o'clock. I have to be back in Somerset that night. I'd have to be leaving by about 6.
Yeah.
I'd only be there for an hour, and although some of the other cast of Naked Boys Singing, who I haven't seen for a few years, were going to be there, and it would be delightful to see them, they probably wouldn't be there until a little bit later anyway. So it was a really, really tough choice to go, I'm going to look after myself. Rudy would appreciate that, I know. And besides, Rudy wasn't there. He was here. And you know, I was thinking of him, and I was texting the boys, and we all shed a few tears, and I didn't need to be in the room to do that.
Yeah.
So it was lovely. So I stayed down there, had a lovely time when my dad returned the next day, and then Yeovil, well, Sparkford, is where the publishers of my book are, and I spent 2 glorious days having my hands photographed in various knittily positions.
Excellent.
With a bit of luck, those knittily positions will translate into decent storytelling to teach people how to do stuff.
Good.
I have got a whole new appreciation of knitting books. Genuinely, people, if you've ever looked at a knitting book and said, that's a really complicated move and that picture's rubbish, it's really not showing the story, I now know why. It's blooming hard. It's really hard to try and catch the still moment that represents an action. Because you don't know whether to photograph the beginning of the action, the middle bit where the magic happens, or the end bit. And if you do, you can only take so many photographs. There's only so many steps you can have in a step-by-step. It's really, really hard. So this was what I was dealing with. A million swatches. Million swatches are keeping me awake. Guess the reference?
Decorated Gentleman.
Thank you very much. So there's all sorts of stuff here. Some of these I really quite like. I think I've shown this one on Instagram. This is some ribbing of different widths, and we've got some brioche, and we've got some double decreases with some increases to make that worthwhile, and we've got some increases and some decreases, and stocking stitch and garter stitch and the difference between the two, and garter stitch and moss stitch and some yarny overs and stuff and some. Oh, I said this to Abbie just before we started the camera rolling. I feel, back to charlatan syndrome, I feel like a complete charlatan, because here, in a book that I'm writing, is some information on intarsia. And this is the first bit of intarsia knitting I've ever done. Who am I sitting right here telling people how to do stuff when I've never done it before? Shocking. It's the only thing in the book that I was the first time before. But look, yeah, I'm quite pleased with it.
It's very good. I
have to say, it's not too tatty around the edges, and it doesn't look like it's going to fall apart, and there's no real baggy stitches. I'm quite happy with that. I didn't mind doing this much intarsia, and I could happily do that on a project where there's maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 4 different strands of yarn per row, but I wouldn't want to do something which is like multicoloured with a gazillion things. The tangling alone would just drive me mad. And then this is probably my favourite swatch. You've seen this on Instagram if you follow me there. It's a little snowflake. I like it. Genuinely, 2 hours knitting, it got put down, click, it got turned over, click, done.
For the love.
Furious I was, hashtag furious. Now, between the 2 days, between Monday and Tuesday, we did get everything done. We also shot 20 how-to videos on the second afternoon because of all... I'll tell you about that story in a minute because I can't go into what that is before I talk about what the book is. I'm going to do that a little bit later. So in between times, I went, because I knew I was about half an hour's drive away from somebody very special. For anybody who is a fan of the Book of Haps, you know the Book of Haps?
Yes.
You know my Hexa Hap?
Oh yes, yeah.
That comes from the Book of Haps.
Yeah.
The Book of Haps has been tech edited by a very special lady who also produces her own books and is a designer of some note herself. And I'm talking about, if you can't guess, Jen Arnold Culliford. And her husband, Jim Arnold Culliford, who also works as a tech editor. I love that. Married couple, tech editors, knitters, designers. Just brilliant. And also the most lovely people in the world, it has to be said. So I met up with them in Edinburgh and we chatted about this, and it turns out that they were also doing some work for a book that they're doing the same day that I'd been doing some work for the book that I was doing. So that was kind of weird. And we were half an hour away from each other. I said, I know you're going to be really busy, but can I pop in for half an hour just for a hug? I'll bring chocolate, I'll bring emergency parcels if you need something, but I'd just love to see you. And it seems silly to be in that part of the world and not see each other at all. So I went round for dinner with them and their adorable children, and they kept me amused no end. Genuinely the sweetest hearted children. Jen and Jim, you are doing a fabulous parenting job because they are... You know when children are so open and so sharing, they just want to have fun with you. Mm-hmm. That. Just lovely kids. Had a lovely time. So that was brilliant, and even as we were sort of wrapping the evening up, we said, oh, we must get a photograph and we can Instagram it. Look who came to tea, and I can say, look whose house I went to tea at. What did we not do?
Take a photograph.
Yeah, thanks. So there's been nothing to show for it. So therefore, clearly, because it didn't happen through a 3.5-inch screen, it didn't happen in life, because that's the modern way.
Yeah.
But I mentioned Jen and Jim last podcast episode, because they have sent me a copy of a book for review.
Ooh.
And I promised last week, or last 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that I would give a review of... Something new to learn about cables. from Arnold Culliford Knitwear. Easy to follow tutorials and beautiful patterns to teach you something new about cables. Abbie hasn't had a look at this yet. I'd like Abbie to join in the conversation. So if you feel free to carry on knitting, but also if you'd like to cast your eye through that while I'm doing some more burbling, then what would be really interesting, even if it's a quick flick, what grabs your eye?
Okay.
What things about it grab your eye as something new to you or something really useful to have in a book?
Okay.
Spoiler alert, from me, it's going to be a glowing review. I think it's amazing. So that brings us up to today. And today I went to see my friend Vanessa, and I went to my clinic for some blood tests, and I've just realised I'm still wearing my little plaster there. It really hurt. Not the plaster. Today, when she scooped the thing in, usually I don't feel it. She popped it, it was like, ah! And it was the gift that kept on giving as well. It continued hurting while she filled up 6 bottles of... I'm empty.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like giving blood.
Yeah. I'm literally empty. Not literally, I'm figuratively empty. Don't write it.
Do you get a biscuit at the end of it?
No, orange juice, no. Right, I'm going to leave you to dissect.
My row.
You go, of course. I'm going to crack on into podcast questions. I asked Abbie before we started, I said, shall I read these through first or should we just do potluck? I've gone to the page, but I haven't even realised where I started off. Oh yes, I've read that one last time. Okay, brilliant. Says Susan5704, you've often described some of the items on your walls, bookshelves, mantle, etc., but I don't recall you ever talking about the balls hanging near the bookcase. Curious minds want to know. There, over your other shoulder.
Oh yeah.
They're lights, they just don't work. They're a set of fairy lights from a shop in Brighton called Castor and Pollux, which is brilliant because I had 2 rats, as Abbie well knows, called Cass and Poll, who were Castor and Pollux. That's just coincidence. They were not named after that, and we didn't put 2 and 2 together until a long time afterwards. That's the simplest question answered in the world. So I'm just literally reading these out blind, so if anything goes a little bit, I'll just cut it out. Re your 2 skeins of rainbow coloured yarn in podcast 60. They look similar but have slightly different colours. Yes, they are, and they do. Would you ever use both in the same project? I have the same choice with 2 similarly variegated skeins. Yes, I absolutely would. It's 2 skeins of, I think it's 50 grams, it might be 100 grams each of DK weight yarn.
Mm-hmm.
They're both the same yarn base and they are from the same dyer, and they're multicoloured. One is much more like a rainbow and one has more sort of oranges and reds.
Okay.
They're very similar, but there are differences between them.
Yeah.
And of course, in variegated yarn, those colours are going to be broken up anyway, so they'll be mixed together much more. I think they would look quite nice in the same project. I don't know that I would think of a particular project where that amount of that weight of yarn would be necessary or convenient, but absolutely with a shawl or something like that, or even a miniature little shawl, to have the stripes would be quite noticeable. I think if I alternated sort of like a couple of inches of one and a couple of inches of the other, I think it would look quite nice. Yeah. Subtle. Oh, we were talking about subtle colours. When we get into some show and tell, Abbie's got some socks which might demonstrate that exactly rather well.
Oh, okay.
Similar coloured socks that you have used.
Oh,
colours.
yes. Yeah.
So, yes, I would. Thank you from Le Crochet. Paula, my good friend Paula, says, having had the benefit of being a student at your Rhinebeck demystifying double knitting class at Rhinebeck last year, thank you for saying a benefit, and thank you for saying what's about to go. Head swelling as I read. I know you're a gifted teacher. What a smug. Oh, I can't say that. I'll bleep that out. Aren't I smug? I'm sure some of that ability comes from your performance background. You're probably right, because I clown around quite a lot in my classes. Anyone who's taken a class with me knows I don't take myself too seriously. I often say I take everything in my life seriously except myself. I'm sure there's other ability comes from your performance background, but I wonder about your development as a knitting teacher.
Oh, good question.
So, a couple of questions on that subject. When you were learning to knit, did you attend any workshops? I went to the university. of YouTube. When you're at a festival these days, you get together with other teachers and designers and compare notes about teaching methods. Now, there's a more interesting answer to that question. I'm hoping I won't be giving anything away about what things we talk about when we get together as teachers at a show. P.S. It was great to see you again at EYF and show Il Barato to its spiritual father. Do you mean me or do you mean the original scarf? Am I the spiritual father or is the other scarf the spiritual father? Either way, Paula has knitted Il Barato.
Oh, wow.
Larissa, who dyed the yarn, still has my original on her stall because she's still selling the kits. By the way, Travel Knitter is still selling kits for Il Barato, and please go to Larissa's website, hello, and if you are interested, her yarn is so beautiful, give her your business. And she's got it on the stall, so I wasn't able to wear it, but Paula brought hers made in the same colours, and I was able to see hers. It's so lovely to see something that someone else has knitted when it's your pattern, isn't it? Gives me a lot of thrill. I love it. So the answer to your question, did I attend any workshops? I've never attended a knitting workshop. I really should, actually. It's something I really want to do because I am interested in other people's teaching styles. Not because I want to steal stuff, just because I just want to compare, really, and I don't have any method of comparison. Have you done any knitting classes?
No.
Never?
No.
Can you think of a particular topic or subject that you would enjoy taking a class on? Or would you just research it at home?
I'd probably just research it at home, but considering my last attempt at double knitting failed when you tried to teach it to me, we should probably do that again sometime.
I failed?
No, I failed. I failed miserably.
Do you know what? I had never taught a class professionally, had I,
No,
at that point, and I was using some friends as some guinea pigs, you know, there, and I know where I went wrong with that session.
I think it was the cast
on,
wasn't it?
exactly.
The cast on just kept falling apart.
It's not the cast on that I used.
Get very far.
Phil, I know you're watching this. Phil was the gentleman who was in my class at A Yarn Story on Saturday. Now, Phil, when I said about homework about learning the long tail cast on, he'd managed to see the cast on video that was the cast on I tried to teach Abbie.
Okay.
And he said to me, well, why can't I use this one instead? This is why. It's because it's horrifically unstable, and unless you really know what it feels like to manipulate the yarns in that new way, it's not a good idea to use that particular cast on. My fault, something I've learnt as a teacher, so that's how this is answering Paula's question, isn't it?
Right.
You learn from your mistakes. A wise lady in Northern Ireland said to me a couple of weeks ago, and I love this phrase, you see more when you get lost.
Okay, yeah.
If you wander off the path,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's brilliant, and I think I've always said I've learnt more from the mistakes I've made in knitting than I have from my successes, and what just was about to come out of my mouth is going to sound so rude. I'm going to say it anyway because it's funny, and Abbie was one of my mistakes. That's not what I meant at all.
Thanks.
No, what I tried to teach Abbie was one of my mistakes, and benefited me enormously because my first professional class I went in teaching an entirely different cast on.
Great.
We're going to do that again.
Great.
I'm not going to do that cast on, and you're going to love it.
Wonderful. I look forward to it.
We didn't even get onto the double knitting, and that's entirely my fault. So in terms of when we get to festivals, do we get together with other teachers and designers and compare notes about teaching methods? No, we get together and compare notes about students. Types of students rather than individual students. It's really interesting because... Are you all right?
I think I've made a mistake, but it's fine. I'm just going to ignore it.
Is it one of those that I want to fix it, or I'm going to need to concentrate and fix that, so I'll bury my head in a book and pretend it didn't happen now?
Yeah, that one. When it's a cable and it doesn't flow because it's one stitch out. And
have you got to the row and thought,
well, I don't think it's that. I think it's something else because it comes over a twisty, but I'm just not sure that... No, it wasn't that bit. This bit. I think it...
I don't know.
But it splits. I don't know. It might be right.
I don't know the pan well enough.
But
We'll investigate later, and I'm sure you'll be able to
I
fix
shall
it
look at this lovely book.
Yeah. See what we think.
Colourful.
I see that.
Hmm.
Who's that? That's Lucy Hague!
Yay.
She's designed one of the lovely, lovely, lovely patterns in that book. Anyway, so yes, we do get together and we chat, and I was having a fantastic chat with the divine creature that is Nancy Marchant at Edinburgh over breakfast this year, and we were talking about students and not individual people, but how certain attitudes and manners can really be quite tricky in a classroom environment. Here's my plea. If ever you've arrived slightly late to a class and the class has already started, please try not to bring your panic into the room with you. Is that fair?
Yeah.
What happens is that, certainly for me, when I'm starting a class, I try to build an atmosphere in the room, and I try to make it a safe space. I try to, because I know that double knitting is something that intimidates quite a lot of people, and my point about the class is I try to demystify that. So I want to create a room where everyone feels safe and everyone feels that they can do this, and this is something that they can do. And then when someone comes in and they're stressed and they're flustered and they're embarrassed as well, and I get entirely where it comes from, that panic can sort of infuse its way through the rest of the room, and it can really derail what you're trying to create. So my advice and my plea, certainly if it's one of my classes, is not people mistime things, traffic happens, buses get missed, planes get cancelled, these things happen. No one's worried that you're late, but just slip in and say, hello, I'm sorry I'm late. Sit down, calmly take out your needles and start listening. That would be, for me, the best gift anyone can give me as a teacher of a class. So in terms of my development as a knitting teacher, it's what I was talking about with Abbie, it's learning from my own mistakes. But also, if anyone's taken one of my classes twice, you'll hear me trot out the same stories, the same jokes, the same anecdotes, because if something works and if something puts people at their ease, that's my job. My job is to, as again, create that safe space, and I do that by clowning around and making a fool of myself and telling stupid jokes. And if it works with one group, I'll go, oh, I'm not going to script my class, but if the moment comes up again, I'll say that line again because I know it gets a good response. So I learn as I go, definitely, and I really enjoy the process. I love teaching, I have to say. I've got so much teaching coming up this year. I could not be happier. I'm really so happy when I'm teaching a room full of people who want to learn this stuff. It gives me so much joy. I don't want to teach children.
No.
Anything. I teach adults. I go into drama colleges and teach sort of young adults about acting through song and drama stuff, and love that because that's vocational. They're there because they want to be there. Knitters have paid to be at a workshop. They want to be there. What I don't want to be is a paid babysitter.
Have you been asked?
To teach children?
Yeah.
I've done it a little bit in the past. I really don't like it. I once taught, it was supposed to be a drama workshop on status at Pineapple. This was for a summer school for a group of, now I'm not going to say delinquents, but they were actually really, really great kids, but I had to work to find the greatness.
Yeah.
They were brittle and because they were vulnerable and they were insecure, so they wanted to intimidate, so they didn't look intimidated. And I was their target. I walked in and this is a room full of 13 to 15-year-old girls, and they were chewing gum, listening to music out loud on their phones. No sense of discipline. In the theatre world, you're kind of used to people just being quiet, getting on with it, having respect for the space and for the craft. There was none of that. And I walked in, and this girl looked at me and she went, "Are you our dance teacher?" And I said, no, I'm not here to teach dance. I'm here to teach you some drama. And she looked at me and she went, "I don't like drama," and turned her back on me. I was like, right, sink or swim.
Yeah.
My default, as I've just said, is to be the clown. So I started completely and royally taking the rise out of myself. And it worked, thankfully. I got them giggling. I got them giggling, which made them loosen up. And when they relaxed, they allowed me in.
Yeah.
And I got some really, really fabulous work from them because they had it to give. I think they needed permission to unlock their own doors. And thankfully I managed to find a way to do that. But it was touch and go, I'm not going to lie. It could have been very, very scary experience. Lil Angels G2, I know that avatar, old, says, "Hi Nathan, I'm excited to hear about your upcoming publication. Will it include a download code for Ravelry with it so that the patterns are printable?" Watch this space. I am in talks at the moment with the good people at Haynes Publishing, about the digital aspects of the book. They are very keen to... There's the digital team at Haynes who are very keen to exploit all of the things that exist in the digital knitting world that are slightly unusual when it comes to the publication of this type of book outside the craft world. It's not going to be particularly easy, I think, to set things up the way this book, for example, is set up. You get your download code, you get the whole ebook, or you can download the patterns separately. I'm going to push for, probably after a window period about 6 months after the book comes out, I'm going to push to try and get them to start selling the patterns individually on Ravelry anyway, but this is not their medium, the knitting side of things. So it's, I might have to do a little bit of gentle cajoling, just to say, here's an introduction to how things work. It's weird because I'm a novice book writer. I've never done this before. I'm working with one of the best established how-to publishers in the world. They know that stuff. What they don't know is knitting. So in a way, we've got two worlds coming together, which could be, let's take the best of what you know and the best of what I know, but could also easily turn out to be the blind leading the blind. The team I'm working with are wonderful. I don't have any bones, it's not bones to grind, axe to grind, any bones. What's the phrase about bones? I don't have any.
Pick.
Do you pick a bone with someone?
Don't you usually pick your teeth with a bone and there was something?
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I don't have any axe
Knives
to grind.
to grind.
Abbie's doing Oliver. Knives to grind. Any knives to grind.
Yeah, that one.
Where's your head right now? Firmly in Dickensian London.
Clearly.
Anyway, I don't have Louise, my editor, is just wonderful beyond belief, and has given me so much flexibility to do what I want with the book. It's been brilliant, and I think in the talks I was having yesterday with some of the digital team, I think some of what you're asking for will be possible. I don't know quite whether it will be exactly in the way you're expecting, or whether it might be something new and a bit exciting. Say no more. Hi Nathan, says Angels Sing. That's weird. Next to each other we've got Lil Angels G2, and then underneath we've got Angels Sing. Two different people, all based on angels. How lovely. I love fortuitous things like that. Hi Nathan, you went from a clock in, clock out job to working as a freelance knitwear designer with added perks. Is that euphemism? As I watch your podcast, what always comes to mind is how easily or not the transition went, and how structured or not it's become. That's really interesting. To be honest, I'm so happy for you, thank you, and would love to hear how it's changed your life. I know that knitting is such a big part of your life, so I realise it probably just came naturally, but nonetheless, I would love to hear your success story. Thanks, Jackie, aka Jaded Jules on Instagram. Gotcha. On Angels Sing, I was going to ask, and she's answered the question here, I sing soprano in a small choir, hence the name. There we are, see? So the real transition happened last year in May when I quit my job. Incidentally, the day before I got contacted by Haynes Publishing to say, will you write a book for us? So something worked out very nicely there. But the transition has sort of been organic. It's kind of happened by itself. It was never part of the plan. Genuinely, if you'd said to me 5 years ago, when I'd been knitting for a couple of years and put out a sock pattern just because I thought, well, I've knitted it, maybe someone else will want to. If if you told me then, or suggested to me then, that I'd be doing the things I'm doing this year connected with knitting, writing a book, flying around the world, teaching it here, there and everywhere, I'd be like, are you having a laugh? So I'm more shocked than anybody at what's going on at the moment. So when you talk about a success story in your words, thank you very much for that. It feels like that. It feels like someone else's, in a way. It's someone else's story. I don't see myself as taking part at all. Song from Chess, if you don't know. But it's kind of true. It feels like I'm sort of standing on the outside going, who's this guy who's knitting? I'm an actor. And I'm always going to be an actor, but at the moment it's kind of hard to fit the acting in because my diary is filling up. I'm a big believer in just saying yes, being open to new experiences. So that's why I guess it's happening, but it's happening quite quickly at the moment and I'm really excited by it. I'm more than a little scared going back to charlatan syndrome.
Word for the day, charlatan syndrome. 2 words.
2 words. Yeah.
Yeah?
When you have a syndrome, do they ever get connected together? Do you have like something else syndrome? Is it always 2 words?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll check. I'll put the answer here. How structured or not it's become. Over the book, it had to be really structured. I was literally working 9 to 5, sitting at my computer, doing all that kind of stuff. There is a song for every occasion. It really is. And it's one from a musical, because even though that was from a film first,
yes,
it's become a musical. So it has been life-changing. Everything's been life-changing recently. And I am enjoying it hugely. Did the transition come easily? It took the catalyst of me having a horrible experience at work to boot my day job out of the equation, so that wasn't easy, but that... My friend Vanessa, I was telling her this story today, and she said, then you've got that horrible customer to thank. I was like, oh, that helps me be a better person. I hated him until then. Now I'm hugely grateful.
Yeah.
Ollie Cobb says, with the mention of your tattoos on episode 60, I wonder if you've seen these tattoos, and if you could, there's a link. I hope they're not rude. I hope they are. And if you would consider getting one, and if so, what would it say? Well, I wouldn't ever consider getting someone else's trend, so even before I can see them, I wouldn't do it just because I've seen it. But, soundwave
cool.
tattoos.
Yeah.
Well, make a soundwave, upload the audio file, general sensor here. Beg pardon. I think they're great. I think they're lovely. Someone else is doing it. That's usually my reason for not. I quite like... there's an app that you can play it from the tattoo.
Yeah, so you can scan it and it will play the audio.
I realise you don't know what I'm talking about. So create your own sound wave from skin motion. Do you know what? I'll talk about this, but then I might edit it out because I might decide I don't like this company. I'm not going to promote them if I don't like them. So if this stays in and you're watching it, it's because I've checked them out and they're okay. So it's called Skin Motion, and you create your own sound wave by uploading an audio file, and then the sound waves tattoos play back with the Skin Motion app. So they make... Do you know, if you don't know what a sound wave is, it looks like that. It's when audio gets represented on the screen and you get we see it all the time in recording studios, so we're used to what those stems, as we call them, look like.
Loud.
Yes, exactly. yeah. That's pretty much it, isn't it? And the different shapes will be the different frequencies as well. So if there's... I guess what's really nice, you could do some lovely tribute tattoos with those if you have a very short voicemail message from someone who's no longer with us.
That's weird.
Would that be nice? That's kind of nice though, isn't it? Because tribute tattoos are a big thing. And if you've got your nan saying, "Happy birthday, my darling," and it was the last message you ever had from her or something like that.
Do you think it would sound like her though?
It would be that sound wave.
Yeah.
If they're accurate enough.
I don't think I like that.
Then you always get to hear it wherever you want to.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
No.
Would you be a tribute tattoo sort of person anyway? Because I'm not.
No, not really. I've thought about having musical tattoos before of like a song, but to be honest, there's too many good pieces of music that it's hard to...
Why do you think I have 74 tattoos around, not one?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is constant not being able to pick just one. There's going to be a very special edition of What's Tat on this episode. I've just decided. Yeah. We haven't had What's Tat for ages, but there's a reason for this, and it's not mine. It's not Abbie's either. She just it's like, hey Abbie, I've got the tattoo gun live on the podcast. Happy birthday, darling. So that's I didn't know about them. I think they're great. No, I don't want to have one for me. I genuinely think these are the sorts of things I love that technology can get involved in and do something really fun.
You can have a QR code.
You could. You can knit.
You can knit one though. Yeah, you can knit one.
And I know people who have QR codes tattooed.
Yeah.
And I also know people who have barcodes tattooed. I know you can get more information into a QR code. I wonder. Bless you. I wonder. And this would be really sad if it was. Let's lose the bad grammar, Nathan, and use the subjunctive. If it were to be a special sound that you didn't want to lose, is there a point in the aging process of the tattoo where it stops being readable by the app? Because that would be really sad. One day you go to scan your tattoo to hear this treasured sound and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That would break my heart. I like the aging and fading of tattoos. I don't mind it. I think it shows that tattoo, which is special to me because it represents a certain time in my life, has been on the same journey that I've been on. I like that. I don't mind that at all. But when there's something that you would lose from the blurring or the spreading of a tattoo, I think that might just be really sad.
Yeah.
You'd always remember what it was supposed to be.
But it won't ever sound the same
Yeah.
again.
I don't know. And would that be the same with the QR code as well? If you've got like quite a detailed QR code, I don't know why, tattooing one on my chest.
Right
QR code right there. It goes to sockmatician.com. Would that also spread to a point where, because there's quite a margin of error built into QR code readers, and you can destroy quite a bit of a QR code and it will still work. So maybe that'd be okay.
Maybe
it's just answering a question.
I need to cough.
You can, it's fine.
Okay. Sorry.
I mute those things out and I cut them out, it's fine.
Great.
They look lovely. I mean, some of the tattoos themselves look really rather nice. They're fun. I don't plan to get one for myself, but if anybody else is thinking of them, I think they're brilliant. I think the technology that goes into that is genius. Right, I have now lost the page I was at. Oh, here we go. Sandri Fartoran, I am going to answer all of your questions next time. You've got 9 questions there. I am going to devote the whole of the podcast questions on the next episode to yours, if that's okay. We're done with podcast questions. Thank you so much for sending those in. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a podcast questions specific thread on my group and Ravelry. If you haven't joined up already, why the hell not? Just go over there, click on the group and say, hi, I'd like to join, please. And the answer is yes, you can come in. And then you can post, I think you can post anyway, but just post a question in the podcast thread and podcast questions thread. And we'd be delighted to have your input. So, you're worried you're stressing about that now?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go back.
How far? Literally from there? Is it just one row or?
No, it happened here.
Oh no. Is it fixable from the top? I bet it is.
I don't know how to do that.
How complicated are the cables at that point? Is it just a 1/1 cable?
It's sort of a twisted thing.
So you're twisting the front stitch and it's a pearl stitch for the back stitch and it's just 1/1?
Quite possibly.
Is it just a travelling cable?
Yeah.
We'll dissect. You may not need to.
It may be in the book.
Well, have you seen that there is how to fix
cables?
That's
my favourite bit.
Right, shall we do the book review?
Yes.
Okay, so have you had a good look through?
There are 2 things I want to knit already.
Is one of them Rachel's hat?
No, actually.
Lucy's cowl?
No, I'd rather do the blanket.
Yeah.
And the mittens, the fingers, because I like fingers gloves. I don't have any on today, but I do like fingers gloves.
So this is something new to learn about cables from Arnold Culliford Knitwear. It looks like this. Look at the size first of all.
Perfect, that was my first comment. The size is perfect. It's brilliant.
Now, I was talking to Jen about this, and she says that some people have said, well, it's only a small book. It seems, why would you pay that? That's what you want, right? Project bag size.
Yes.
So, some people, honestly, that to me is a plus point. It's beautiful matte
Fit in
finish.
there,
Yeah, I mean, that's just a sock-sized project bag as well, which happens to have the TARDIS all over it. Ellen, you're going to be delighted to see that, right? Because something you don't know, well, you know and no one else does. Yeah. It's beautifully presented. It's a really, really nicely printed book. It's got this lovely matte finish, kind of waxy finish. It feels lovely. It's quite a lot of info. It's 90 pages. And let's have a little trawl through the contents. We've got the introduction. We've got chapter 1 is basic cable techniques, cabling without a cable needle, 2-stitch cable shortcuts, tracking rows, as in tracking rows in cable projects, and then there's a project, which is the Areto hat by Rachel Coopey, which I happen to absolutely love. Very, very clear how-to pictures, and I know how difficult that is. They're really, really nicely done. Yeah, see, okay, yeah. I think, Jen, are they your fingers? I think they might be. It's really nicely laid out, it's nicely spaced. This is the, if you haven't seen it before, this is the hat, and there's the crown, what it looks like. It's beautiful, it's really, really lovely. Rachel, you are a genius, I love you, and I've got plenty of your sock yarn waiting to be a hat. A special hat.
Excellent. And
there's a Jen link as well, but I can't talk about it yet. And the patterns, the charts are really, I'm not going to show you because it's paid for, but it's really, really clear, really, really simply put. It's really concise, isn't it? Everything about it looks, the photography is gorgeous, and Rachel, your hair looks stunning in that purple colour. I absolutely love it. Are you a fan of the purple hair?
Yep.
Yeah. Then we've got fixing cables, a whole thing on fixing cables. These are the gloves that Abbie likes, and I happen to know that they're Jen's own pattern. So that's the, let's go back to the contents. We've then got fixing cables, so dropping a whole rope cable, dropping part of a rope cable, dropping a more complex cable. I mean,
scary stuff.
It's so easy to miscross a cable, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many times you just twist it the wrong way, you go front when you need to go back. It's so easy, and often because your head's in it and you don't see overall perspective until the end of the session, you sit back and you go, what have I done today? Oh, what have I done today? There's snipping and grafting, there's using embroidery to fix a mistake. I appreciate the air quotes in that case because you can't see them on the page, but they are there, and I like that because it's not fixing a mistake, it's covering up a mistake, and there's humour there, it's all good. Then we've got the projects, which are the Otera mittens and the Otera mitts, which are these lovely mitts there. Whatever that yarn is, I'm going to see, is that?
To the back.
Is it Rachel's?
Co-op.
It's Coop Knits.
Oh, sorry. Coop.
It's because it's Rachel Coopey.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, no.
Coop Knits.
It looks like Co-op, you're right. It's the DK socks,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
You've already checked
I was
that,
looking it up.
But, I mean, Rachel, that's the yarn I'm going to be knitting my hat in.
Okay.
Look at that stitch definition. Oh my goodness, it's just gorgeous. There's so many tips and tricks in here. I'm just going to let Abbie talk about it.
Oh, great.
Just because I want whatever because Abbie had not seen this book at all until you saw me put it in her hand. So what jumped out at you?
Aesthetics, like we said, size. I really like the font, actually. So if there's a font fan, there's a really nice sort of swirly font, but looks like yarn kind of going into places.
Oh, do you know what?
No?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna ask Jen and say, was that a consideration? Because yes, it does look like loops of yarn.
It's great.
Perfect.
Fixing cables definitely was something that, and just the different ways of doing it depending on what cable.
Were there ways there that hadn't occurred to you, or ways that you knew about but now know more about?
To be honest, I fix cables by just ripping it out and doing it again.
Which is a perfectly valid way of doing it.
Also, I'm very keen to. I always like the idea of doing it without a cable needle, and you've told me before, but then I forget. So having it written down as well is probably quite helpful. So
I only really do large cables with a cable needle.
Yeah.
If it's anything, if it's 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6, it's a pinch.
Okay.
All you need to do is pinch below. So if you've never done cable knitting without a cable needle before, what you do is you stick the needle into the front of or the back of some stitches.
Okay.
You slide stitches off the needle, and some of them pop free, and that's the scary bit.
Yeah.
If you're a tight knitter, or like me, a knitter of dense fabric. No pejorative term there, you see. Then sometimes there is, and if you're using particularly slippery yarn, so with this, it's obviously the silk content, so there's a chance that they could go blah, blah, blah. But if you pinch below, as you slide out, that pinch stops those stitches from going anywhere.
Okay.
So that hopefully will take the fear away.
Yeah, definitely.
Back to your thoughts.
No, that's fine. So yes, if using without cable needle, but just some really beautiful patterns as well. In particular, like we said, actually the blanket rather than the cowl, and the mittens. I like the idea of.
Let's show everyone this wonderful blanket.
It's so beautiful.
It's Lucy Hague again. You know, my talent crush. I'm sorry I'm covering your face.
Fine.
That way I can see what's going on the screen. If I cover my face, it could be all over the place. Abbie, say bye-bye.
Bye.
It's so lovely. It's just... There's nothing Lucy does... Hi, Abbie. There's nothing Lucy does that doesn't delight me on multiple levels. It's a modular pattern.
Yeah.
So you're knitting like hexagons and fitting
you
together to make a square.
With, like, the cable shape, and then actually it's not just the cable shape. There's something inside of it and around it, and it's this whole other hexagon thing. And you're like, there's so much more detail in there than you just see on a first glance.
And you know from having knitted this one how well Lucy's patterns are put together.
Yeah.
They're clear, aren't they? There's complex stuff going on, but they're not hard to do.
No.
That, for me, is the holy grail of pattern design.
Yeah.
I've got a hair. You carry on talking, I'll get my hair out.
Okay. And it's rather helpfully kind of within the projects, it talks about, like the project section, it talks about the techniques they use within that project.
Right.
So you don't kind of have it all, this is all the techniques, and then here are the patterns. You kind of almost
like
have
my book
it within.
is.
In a different way, in a good way. You have it within the sections. It's good. I like it. Because it feels like
you're on a
can
journey with the
reference
book.
in a good place.
But you're also you learn those techniques and then you get a chance to try them out.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's great. I like it.
What's fun is that it gives you a kind of linear map through the book if that's the way you want to do things. I quite like being able to sort of jump in and jump out of books, although my brain does kind of work in linear ways. I really like the idea of kind of being spoon-fed. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I just contradicted myself 3 times in that sentence. I said 2 things that were contradictory, and I agree with myself on both accounts.
Good.
So, just look at that yarn.
Colour.
Just Rachel's beautiful. Is that all the coupe knits?
Yes.
Socks DK. Yeah, socks DK, is it?
Yeah. It is the
beautiful. In fact, I showed it to you last time, I think. Not you, Abbie, them. The blue, the light grey and the dark grey. Lovely.
It's nice.
So overall, I would have to say, and not because they are friends of mine who give me shepherd's pie, but the Arnold Colorfords have done a fantastic job. The photography is stunningly beautiful. It's autumnal. The colours are great. The vibrancy is great, but the planning of the shots is lovely. I mean, I know that's not a consideration in whether or not the information or the knitting is going to be good, but it does help to make it look nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes it a pleasurable experience to enjoy reading the book. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't name that cowl, by the way. Do you think that's going to be the Pleione?
Pleione.
Pleione cowl. It's here on screen. There you go. That's Lucy Hague's cowl and blanket. So it's the same modules that you put together in different ways. So Rachel Coopy's hat is called the Arito hat, and that's the one that looks like that, which will show you gorgeous cabling. Lovely. I particularly like this bit here. I love the honeycombing, but I love the twisted bit around the side. And the other main pattern in it. Oh, this is Jim as well. Oh, Jim's modelling a pattern. Look at that. I'd forgotten that he was in there. That's a lovely Jim. He's doing the mitts. Those are the mittens with the closed bits, and the mitts are the ones that open. Yeah. And it's overall just a really, really lovely book. It retails, it says on the back here in the UK, for £14. That is a bargain.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
When you think Okay, so a book that like a novel, yeah, you can get there's probably more words in a novel, and a paperback novel is probably $7.99 or $9.99, something like that. Yeah, okay, this is more expensive. There's so much more information in this. You're going to go back to this again and again. You're probably not going to take it all in one go, but have that on the shelf, and there will come a situation like you probably just accidentally engineered a situation where you might be referring to this book in the next hour.
Yes.
But you'll come back to it again and again. That's priceless. And I was having a very interesting conversation with Carmen in Bath on Saturday about the difference between cost and value. A lot of people think that they are synonyms.
Mm-mm.
I think this costs £14. I think it's worth a hell of a lot more. I love it. I really love it. Kind of show and tell. We've done a little bit of show and tell with that. I don't have any yarny things to show and tell at all. From me, no whips, no FOs, because it's all been about the book, and there's only one thing that I'm knitting at the moment which you haven't seen but can't at the moment. So I'm going to say to Abbie, what have you brought to show us? I do have some stash enhancement. That's not even yarn either. I know, this is crazy. Oh, actually, do you know what? Before we get into that, can I just hijack my own podcast for a second?
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you on the spot in a minute. So just so that you know, I'm going to, when you do start talking about something, I'm going to leave the sofa for a bit, so you can just chat for us. It'll literally be gone for a couple of minutes. I need to go and get something. I want to address something that was put to me as arising from the last podcast episode. It appears I've inadvertently upset a couple of my viewers, and no joking in this section of the podcast, this is genuinely serious. As many of you will know, I was wearing a t-shirt last week that had a picture of a yarn ball on it, and it said "Real men have balls" on it. I quite like the t-shirt, I have to say. I found it funny. I found it amusing because of what it intended to mean. The unintended consequence of me wearing it is a couple of the people who watch this podcast who are trans men who are a little bit upset by it. I'm really, really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. That absolutely wasn't my intention at all. And the message that came through to me was very, very nicely worded. It wasn't sent in anger at all, but it just made me start to interrogate a few things and think about this. On the one hand, so this is sort of the jury for the defence. On the one hand, I really do believe that context has to be taken into account when we're talking about offending somebody, and intention as well are partial contributory factors. I can understand absolutely that somebody who is a trans man might read that to say, unless you have balls, you are not a real man. That would never, ever, I want you to know now, never, ever be my thought, and I wouldn't wear a t-shirt if I thought that the t-shirt was intending to say that. I understand how things can be read different ways, so I am sensitive to this, I promise. For me, and this is not being glib in any way, shape or form, I think the concept of what is a real man goes far beyond what's in his trousers. Would you agree with that? I think, and I also don't think the term real man needs to be gender specific. It's the concept of someone who is your hero, someone who is strong, someone who... The joke is obviously on knitting and how knitting is perceived and how men knitting are perceived as being somehow less than a real man because they knit, and that it takes courage to knit. And I know from the people who sent me the message, I know that they get that. I know that they know where that comes from. But I also am sensitive to the fact that it can be read a different way. So for me, I would like to say that I have spent my entire life as a gay man being accused of not being a real man. And for me, that t-shirt is actually a little bit about reclaiming that from my own personal journey. I would also like to say that anybody who flies in the face of social normativity and goes against social constructs of stereotyping, particularly when it comes to gender, but anyone at all, even with just the way people dress. If people choose to express themselves in a way that's going to cause some people to have a negative response to that, you are my heroes, and anyone who does that is my hero, and is therefore so worthy and deserving of whatever the term being a real man means, that anybody who is in part of the trans community goes straight to the top of that list. I took the opportunity, without sharing any personal contact details, of sharing the content of that message with a couple of my friends who are trans men, one who is a knitter and one who is not. And I got really differing responses from them. It was really, really interesting, actually. The first response came back, I'm not going to say whether this was from the knitter or the non-knitter, but saying and I've shown them both a photograph of the t-shirt, saying, when I first saw the t-shirt, I have to admit, I raised an eyebrow, and then I thought to myself, hang on, this is just me. This isn't how Nathan intends to wear it, because Nathan is someone who talks about equality and talks about diversity and cares genuinely, very passionately about those things. So that was one thing, and this guy was not saying that there was hypersensitivity involved, but he was saying it didn't affect him in that way. My other trans man friend said it's kind of the opposite. He said, now Nathan, I know you are not transphobic in any way, shape or form. He said, but I have to say I have a bit of an issue with the t-shirt too. So I'm genuinely really, really sorry that I hurt someone with it. I hope you know that those were not my intentions at all. I hope a wry smile can be brought out of knowing what the joke in the t-shirt was meant to be, but if someone is upset, then you have to sort of acknowledge that there's an upset being caused, right?
Yeah.
I've got a journey to go on, clearly, with this, and I really welcome being challenged on these sorts of things. I really, really do, because I think when someone challenges something, it makes you interrogate your own reasons, and I genuinely am the last person to have any transphobic feelings at all. So, and you did say, can we open up a debate about this? So yes, I really do want to open up a debate. So please feel free, anybody, to contact me about this, either on my Ravelry group or privately. I always liked my Ravelry group to be a safe space for people to air their feelings, but also please be respectful of each other in doing so, because this is a really, really sensitive issue. I know that lots of trans people live every day of their lives with these slights and slurs that come their way, and it's insidious and nobody thinks they're doing it and nobody means it, but these things still get said. I've been there as a gay man. The trans awareness movement is 30 years behind the gay awareness movement. So my friend who was against the t-shirt did say to me, try and picture what this would have been like for you to hear these things said about you 30 years ago. It's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky to put myself in that situation, but I take the point. Gosh, it's really, really hard because I don't see... It's not that I don't see the offence. I do see how it can be read that way. I've said that before. I know that even the t-shirt makers didn't mean it to come across in that way. So does that make it any better? I was talking to one of my friends about this and saying, well, surely people know that me as a gay man who's fighting for visibility and equality and about my HIV status, surely people know that I couldn't possibly be intending to cause pain with that t-shirt. But then I thought, even as I was saying it, I thought to myself, surely someone like me should therefore know better. And perhaps coming from someone like me, it might be even more hurtful.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a consideration. Rest assured, I've heard it. I'm listening. I really, really am listening, and it matters to me to try and put this right. So let's talk, but let's be respectful of each other, and I'll moderate if necessary. I don't like to do that. I like a safe space on my forum. People talk about all sorts of things on my group, and I love that. But yeah, let's be mindful of each other, and thank you for bringing it to my attention, genuinely. Show and tell.
Yes.
When I say that, I keep thinking, because Chantel is a sort of it's a sort of blingy name, isn't it?
Yes.
Blingy American name. Chantel. What have you got for us?
Well, going back to your colour mentioning at the beginning about colourways.
Yes.
So I've most recently finished a pair of socks. Now I've knitted quite a few pairs of socks. Only one of them has ever been for me.
And
this
these
is
are
not
either.
for me either. But this is your toe-up sock. However, they are two different colours. Now I'm not sure.
Come closer, yeah. The camera's at this end, so shall I display?
Yes.
We've got fraternal twins here. They are end.
I haven't
Just
done my
just
ends
off
yet.
just
One
off the
sock
needles.
has not had
Just
its
off the
ends done.
So there you are. There you can see in that light. They clearly are mismatched, but they're so close together. This is what we were talking about with the rainbow-coloured skeins earlier. That you can get some great effects. Let's turn it over. They've got contrast heels and toes and cuffs. And did you have enough yarn of each? Could you have made a full pair out of just one colour, or was this a?
No, I wouldn't have been able to make. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you don't have enough sock yarn to make an entire pair of socks, but you do have enough to make one.
Yes.
You can pair it with another colour you might not have enough of, and make a brilliantly mismatched fraternal pair. They're gorgeous. Abbie, your stitch gauge tension is just like so brilliantly even. Are you like some crazy sorceress witch? Because these have not been washed or blocked.
No, they haven't. No.
That's off the needles and so even in terms of tension. You are like me, aren't you? You are a knitter of dense fabric.
Yes, very much so. Unlike my mother, who is a very slack knitter.
You mean her knitting is very slack?
Yes. My mother always says that the knitting skipped a generation. Her mother was a fantastic knitter, and then she never took to it.
Does she not think she's a good knitter?
No, not at all.
But can she? I mean, she
can
good
knit.
stuff.
Yeah, she's knitted some good stuff, but it doesn't flow in the same way as it does for me, I guess.
What gauge are these socks? Do you know how many stitches per inch you were getting? That looks like 10, 9, was at least 9.
I think it's about 9.
Quite a lot. And what size needles was that on?
3. No.
No.
2.
2.5, 2.75, 2.25?
2.5, I think.
2.25. That's what I would knit on, but that looks slightly... I think my gauge has loosened since I first started. I think I used to make socks at that tiny gauge. I think I've said this before on the podcast. My friend Juju at Loop used to laugh at my knitting. She said, "Oh my God, are your socks waterproof?" She doesn't sound like that. She's Canadian, I'm so sorry. So I love these. What's the yarn?
Shawl.
Ah, yeah. That's very
From
nice.
Loop, in fact.
Indeed. So we've got the two colours there.
Yep.
Are they a 50 gram skein?
50 grand.
Oh, so
So
that's
one
of each colour.
One of each colour.
And where did you get that idea from?
From you.
So smart.
We went and bought the wool together at Christmas.
We did.
These are a Christmas present.
Yeah, that's right. Who are they for? Are they Elliot?
My friend Ian. No.
Are they for Ian? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Elliot will be getting a pair
Has
for
he
his
seen
wedding.
them yet?
No.
Does he know he's getting them?
Yes, because I had to ask for his measurements based on your formula.
Were they for Christmas?
Yes, but it wasn't my fault that I haven't seen him at Christmas, so it's absolutely fine. And I have actually, no, I lie, I have seen him since Christmas, but they weren't finished.
No, you can say it wasn't an appropriate situation to be giving him something that he might have left somewhere.
Yes, very true.
So you chose not to give them to him in their unfinished state. What else have you got for us? I'm going to go and get what I've got to go and get, and I want you to talk about those lovely things.
Another pair of socks that I have knitted. That's a new word.
Nat,
even better.
Knit, nat.
That, again, not for myself, they are for my husband. And he's worn them so much, he loves them, but they are called Twisted Soul, and I will have to look up who that pattern is, but it's on Ravelry, and it's the first patterned sock that I've ever done. And I love it. It's a sort of, there's like a wave effect going on there, and the wool is Rowan, and Nathan will remember the wool very well because he knitted his wedding socks in this wool. But yeah, just a really beautiful sort of kind of hourglass pattern going all the way down. Just a plain sole at the bottom, and standard heel turn and everything. But they've been worn a lot. They're looking a little fluffy at the moment, but that's from love. A lot of love for these socks.
How are you getting on?
Very well. Thank you very much.
I can't find what it is I'm going to find, so I'm just going to pause the recording for a second while I find what it is, because it's really important that I get it and show it to you while Abbie's here.
Okay.
She has no idea what I'm talking about. I'm back. I've actually found... this has been like a 15-minute interlude.
I got another cup of tea.
Yeah. No, it's because I couldn't find it. I found what I wanted to find. Right, so you were talking about these...
Yes.
Socks feeling like they, off camera, feeling like they twist a little bit at the heel.
Yes.
And I asked Abbie, we may as well say it, it's the twisted hourglass pattern.
Twisted hourglass, yes.
I have a pattern called Twisted Soul, which is what put in Abbie's head.
Yeah.
You said that on the heel it felt like things are kind of on the bias a little bit.
Yeah, and they kind of feel like they're going around.
Does the sock leg sort of want to kind of spiral around your leg as well?
A little bit, yeah.
Now I have a theory, and I'm wondering, because all these little cables, they're one of one, so you knit through the back loop of the front stitch, which tightens it up but also twists it. What it does, I've discovered in my cabling, and I'm wondering if this is what caused the problem for you. It does kind of want to kink.
Does
over,
want to go?
Yeah, and these are washed and worn.
Yeah,
Because that little twist works in the same direction all the time, sometimes it makes a difference whether the cable's travelling to the left or travelling to the right. It still is twisting the same way and kind of shunts things over. So I can't remember which direction it is. I think my right travelling cables are nice, when I have twisted stitches, are nice tidy straight lines, and my left travelling cables kind of zigzag a bit.
Huh.
I think it's the same issue.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting, because I don't know anyone else that's come across that, but maybe it's a thing. But you enjoyed the pattern anyway, didn't you?
Yeah, like I said, it was the first patterned sock that I'd ever done, and it was good to experiment with it. I do prefer vanilla socks just because they knit up a lot quicker, and structurally, my head wants to kind of go, right, how much of this is symmetrical, which is an issue for you as well. Yeah. So I say issue. It's not a negative issue.
It is. I'm CDO. I'm absolutely CDO, which is alphabetical the way it should be.
Yes, I hadn't thought about that before. Definitely. But yes, no, I did enjoy knitting them, and I probably won't knit it again just because I might knit something else.
Well, yeah, I don't knit the same pattern twice. So rarely. And if I do, it's not because I love that so much I want another one. It's because I need another one for some reason. If my Ben Nevis hat for the Knitter magazine, which is the double knitting and brioche one together that you've all seen, I knitted that twice. I knitted it once because I was knitting it anyway, and then I knitted it a second time because I wanted to use a slightly different way of doing the brioche for the magazine. So the end result is the same, but I have knitted the same pattern twice, but I generally go, I really enjoyed that. There's so much else in my queue. There's so many things I want to knit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the same yarn and the same colourway that I knitted the socks I got married in. So every time I look at them, it's kind of weird because it's so familiar, and then there's a pattern on it. So
different.
What?
Yeah. Has it gradiated in a different way to yours, do you think, or is it?
I think have you got a different stitch count for leg and foot?
No, for this one it was... Actually, no, this might be because of the pattern. It might be slightly different,
because obviously there's pattern on both sides of the leg and only on one side of the front. Because I don't know if you've noticed, your stripes are slightly thicker on the foot than they are certainly up here.
Yeah.
If the stitch count isn't too... Oh gosh, the pulling's completely different on that one. I love it when things like that happen. Can we show these up together? Look at that. We've got striping spirals there and a proper pool. Sorry, Kay, I know you're going to hate that. I love it when things do that. I've got a photograph. It's on my phone. I was just about to show you. I'm filming on my phone. I'll put it in post. Sorry, Abbie, you're hidden. Look at this. This is amazing. This is when pooling goes so right. This is a friend of mine who is her mother knitted this, and the stripe, it's gone like complete Argyle pattern. It's because of the way it's pooling, you've got this proper crisscross effect going down this. It's beautiful and looks amazing, and proves that this lady's tension is even and perfect beyond belief because it's so consistent throughout. Fabulous. Cool. So I like that kind of thing.
Great.
I've got some books that I want to show everybody as part of my stash enhancement. To my shame, as a man who's just written a knitting book, only in the last couple of days did I learn about James Norbury. James Norbury, for anyone who doesn't know, was in the 1950s and 60s, was an English man who was sort of, basically he was the Fanny Craddock of knitting. Fanny.
You can't help but laugh at her name, I'm sorry.
Brilliant. Fanny Craddock is, for anyone who doesn't know, was like this really school-marmish lady involved in cooking on television. Well, James Norbury had a TV show called Knit with Norbury. I would love to see it, I never have. But I discovered him, and obviously writing, I haven't told people what I'm writing about yet. You still have to wait. But he's a man in the world of knitting, as am I. That's the thing. That'll do for now.
That'll do.
So I've managed to go online, and his books mostly are out of print now, but I've got 3 of them. There's another one on the way, actually. There's 3 of them here, and I love them. This is The Family Knitting Book by James Norbury. I like the jumper. It's the hair and the teeth I'm not so happy with.
It's the back picture, actually. That is
the lower one or the upper one? The lower one, isn't it? Yeah, I know.
It's incredible.
I love it. Look, Abbie, show on the camera your face. But actually, if you look at what this pattern, the design is, can you see on the front? It's the circle is a ball of yarn with knitting needles through it.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, it smells like an old hymn book.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who'd love that smell? Sam Becker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'd love that. Sam is going to go mental when he sees these books. I know it. So inside we've got. When is this from? I think, is this the 70s or is it the? Is it the 60s? I think it may be a bit earlier. What does it say? This is, and then 1969. So this is the second impression that was printed in 71, but it's from 69. So yeah, kind of straddling the gap. So we've got wonderful thing. Oh, you're not going to see anything at all. But old-fashioned proper diagrams. I haven't had these. Only arrived today. I haven't had a chance to go through them. Some. Good Lord! I mean, what I love about this is I'm talking about stuff for men.
Yeah.
That would, I guess, today be seen as quite a feminine pattern.
Definitely.
It's how tastes change, I think. I've just dropped all the books on my lap. Can you see it? All the bobbles and the cables in that. If that man had breasty bumps, then you wouldn't think that was going to be a smiling man's face at the top of that picture. And just goes to show you how I think we assume a lot based on different things. I'm always talking about how I think anything's unisex. If you look good in it, if you feel good in it, you're going to look amazing in it. But I think that's really interesting because that, to me, is what I would consider to be a feminine pattern. There's not much point to that photograph. It's black and white and it's so dark you can't see the knitting. Can't see any of the texture on that. That's rubbish. But that's actually really nice. Ooh, that pattern, I can't show anyone on screen, is there.
Oh.
My diagonals are going the other way.
That's cool.
That's really nice. It's a ladies' V-neck classic sweater. It's a really nice stitch pattern. Ooh, look. Hi. I think that's really nice, actually. And being classic, it's not trying to do anything clever and hasn't really dated.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. The shaping of that is something you could wear today, isn't it?
Totally.
Oh, now that's really interesting.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen like an Aran jumper and it's parallel stripes with some careful, clearly increases and decreases? Look at this. This I really quite like. What that's doing, those lines are splaying out, so they're parallel all the way down his belly, then they splay out to go around the neck, rather than just, as you'd imagine, would just sort of like stop up here. that, do you see?
Ah.
We're laughing at some of this, but there's stuff that you can learn from previous things and different trends. And there are some things that you just because you can.
Oh dear. I still know people that would wear that though.
I secretly do quite like it. I actually think your brother would look very
Yeah, I was going to say my brother would wear that.
And he'd pull it off as well.
Yeah.
He'd look fantastic.
In fact, he'd probably want most of this book. But
He's got a bit of a retro vintage
yes.
aesthetic, hasn't he?
I've knitted something quite similar to that for him. Just but without the sleeves.
Oh, little tank, yeah.
Yeah.
Did it have that kind of wrap over V as well?
Yeah.
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 So that's brilliant. That's the family knitting book, and there's some knits in there for all the family.
Excellent.
You found a baby thing.
Yeah,
there,
really
didn't you,
nice,
which I don't know what page it was on.
Pram.
This interests me a lot. This is James Norbury, obviously they all are, traditional knitting patterns from, I can't read it on the screen, from Scandinavia, the British Isles, France, Italy and other European countries. So basically from Europe. For now. Don't get me started. There's loads of... Oh, there's Sanka in here. Oh, everyone knows how much I love Sanka. Let's see, what page is that on? 216. Let's jump straight to that. Which I bet it's going to be the Duke. Oh, interesting. Not Sanka as I know Sanka at all. I've never seen a pair of Sanka gloves with that design or that design or even that design. I can see the similarities because it says multiple of 18. Sanka designs are actually multiples of 11. It's not right. Now, I know this because I've studied Sanka patterns in quite detail. Obviously, everyone knows I've got the Sanka scarf out there, but I went to the Tolbooth Museum in Sanka, and they gave me access to all their samples and allowed me to photograph them all. So I've seen their whole range of Sanka gloves, all the patterns that they have.
Yeah.
None of those are like that at all.
Wow.
None of them have a white square and a pattern square checkerboard. They have different patterns. Or, yeah, they're usually different patterns, so there's not a plain blank square of any sort. And even those pattern squares are not ones I recognise. This is really interesting because I'm really going to enjoy this book. It's interesting because Mr. Norbury is known for being a little bit sanctimonious. Game on. Genuinely, I already love him. I already love everything he stands for. But I just want to read. This is called Knit with James Norbury, and I love the style. I love this pattern, the colours. I love the way it's. When I say this pattern, I mean this design on the front. This is from the BBC Woman's Hour. It's a BBC publication for 3 shillings and 6pence. 3S 6D. Now it's from. I think this is a bit earlier. Oh, actually, only a year earlier. This is from 1968.
Huh.
A year earlier than the one. But first things first is the first chapter. And I do want to read you the second paragraph, so you might be able to get a little bit of the measure of where this gentleman was coming from. Clearly, he knew his stuff, Sanka information notwithstanding. He did know what he was talking about when it comes to knitting and the mechanics of it. After 40 years' experience of meeting, writing to, and talking to knitters, I have discovered that where so many of them fail to give a professional finish to their work, is that they do not pay that meticulous attention to detail that is the essence of good craftsmanship. The fault lies in the fact that learning to knit is so easy, and its very ease seems to breed in the average knitter a careless attitude that mars the perfection of her finished work.
Shocking.
There's so much I could take issue with in that. Clearly, it's a different time. He's in the minority, most definitely, being a man.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be assuming, but I guess he's writing a book for women. My book doesn't go into those sorts of pronoun distinctions necessarily because I'm not writing specifically for women.
Also, being promoted by Woman's Hour.
Yeah, I'm going to let that one slide because I hate it when people look at history through the social lens of today.
Yeah.
I think that's really kind of difficult to do because times were different. That doesn't mean that everything was okay back then. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying times were different and attitudes were often different as well. It's just the fact that it's talking about fault and where they fail and the marring the perfection and the average knitter. It's quite sanctimonious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is my desire, however, to make this small book useful to as many people as possible. Well, there we are. We're back on even ground. So I am going to love these books. I genuinely, there's all sorts of lovely information in these.
That smells
completely different.
Really?
It smells like an old book, but it doesn't smell any way the same.
That one hasn't lived in a church for a long time. That one has.
Yeah. I love them. That's my little. What's the word? Stash enhancement. Have you got anything else to show us? I think you have.
Do I? This or that?
Whatever. Yeah.
So one other thing I did knit recently. Now, a while ago, you laugh every time I show one of these because you're like, they're crazy.
Abbie has an obsession with a certain designer's niche products, which are brilliant. Abbie's taken that love of them to the nth degree and basically knitted the whole range.
Pretty much. So she's called Sincerely Louise, and she designs faux taxidermy, is generally what she calls it. It's kind of basically I knit heads of animals to put on the wall. It started off with a fox, and he's wonderful and he's beautiful.
Yarn.
I love him. And
I like the expression on your fox's face. He kind of goes, hmm?
Yes, he has a great little ear that kind of goes, we'll put some photos in, this will be fine. But most recently, for my mother, I knitted her a ram. She wanted something else for her wall. She already has the dragon. The dragon is huge. I've also knitted a unicorn, and on my wall I also have a panda.
Can you do a dinosaur as well?
Oh yes, I have done the dinosaur.
The Triceratops?
Have I done? Oh, I don't think I've done the dinosaur. I think that was the dragon.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dragon is red, and I've now totally forgotten what name it is. But I knitted a ram, and it was over Easter, and we called it Ramesses. And I haven't got him here, but again, we will put some photos up. But this is a little bit of a. That's pretty much what he looks like.
The horns are brilliant.
They are incredible. It took me a long time to shape those.
Oh really? Do you use wire, or is it just the stuffing?
It's just stuffing. So I actually knitted them in the round. She tends to knit them flat, but I adapted it to knit to the round. Nice. But it was just a case of stuffing it in the right way and then sort of bending it.
How big is Ramesses?
He kind of goes out about.
So this is no tiny project.
No, they're huge.
But it's not tiny needles. And it's not tiny.
No, it's like 9mm needles, chunky yarn.
Yeah. It's almost like a roving, isn't it? It's like a. A single.
Yeah, it's just really huge.
It's a quick knit.
It's a very quick knit.
They're
I probably
large, but
could.
There's hardly any stitches.
Yeah. you could knit it up in an evening. I think I've knitted one up in a couple of days.
Brilliant.
And they're great. I do love them. There's loads of different designs. Like we said, there's a Triceratops, which I would love to do at some point. There's a moose. I'd love to do the moose.
Like
the moose is awesome. Horns, but he's got this like beard, which is excellent.
Yeah.
But she has got smaller ranges, so she's got kind of scarves and hats and things. But I've got wool for a molehill doorstop. So the bottom of it is the molehill, and then there's a mole sticking out of it. So I've got the wool ready for that. I just haven't knitted it yet. But
did she do the companion piece to that? Is there a mole's bum?
I would love it if there was. I may have to steal that idea and suggest it to you. But it'd be excellent. She should definitely design that. But it's great. I love it.
And if you've got what I would love is at opposite ends of a hallway.
Yeah.
You've got two doors, and one is propped open by the mole doing that, and at the other end it's the mole's backside sticking out. So it's like going down the hall.
That would be brilliant. Just imagine his little feet. That would be so cute. Maybe I should design it.
You should. It's not actually an original idea of mine. I just realised where that came from. My mum and her sister, who's no longer with us, when Joyce was alive, they had these little garden ornaments.
Yeah.
And one was a ceramic mole head and one was a ceramic mole bum. So Joyce lived in Italy,
Oh,
So
wow.
she had half of the mole and my mum had half of the mole, and they liked to think that it was connecting them, that this mole was literally
Yeah.
going down from our
Very
garden and
amazing.
coming up there, and that they both had one end of it. So it's
That's really
fun stuff.
nice.
But
Yeah.
knitted would be just as cute.
Definitely. I'll knit I'll knit the upper half first, and then I might have a little play with the bottom half.
Yeah. I've got some announcements to make.
Have you?
Yeah, I really have. Have you got anything more to show and tell before I get onto those? You have, haven't you? You've got some yarn.
So I've got some yarn, is that right?
Yeah, because I've got nothing to show in terms of that. Why should I go ask you round?
It's clearly been
come and do my
stashing
job
things.
for me.
Now, as soon as Nathan saw the envelope, he knew where it came from.
We know that's John Dunballen's preferred method of...
Very beautiful. I love it. It's purple as well.
Loves her purple. Loves her purple. Right, what's in
Funny
it?
enough, it is a gobstopper of venom.
Venom, it's
Look at that
gorgeous.
colour.
Now, for people
Self-striping.
who don't know, the gobstoppers are fabulously self-striping. You'll get probably on... when I use one of John's gobstoppers, I'm assuming it'll be about the same length of colour each section. I got about 4 or 5, or maybe it was 4 or 5 rounds of one colour before it moved on to the next. So they're not massive stripes, but they're not like one row stripes either. There's a really, really nice in-between stage, and really consistent, really even. They was changing colour almost at the same point.
Amazing.
And that was with a 72 stitch sock, so I don't know what size you'd be probably knitting
For me.
for you.
I've got quite big feet. I'm
You
normally
probably would
about,
want a 72, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, I think I've got a little bit tighter as well.
So so you might get that the same sort of. So probably each stripe would be about a centimetre or something like that. Really nice.
Socks for me.
I know, how lovely.
Socks for me.
But there is purple in there, but it's not really your usual colourway. I mean, it's...
Well, I do try and grey. I wear a lot of grey and a lot of black, but the teals I do like actually, and I do often. Well, I say often. Of an occasion, I tend to like branch out into teal.
As long as it's got purple and grey and black in it. Now this is John's. This is his Deeply Wicked Plus. Well, not Deeply Wicked. Whatever it is. Gobstoppers is Plus. Now, a lot of John's stuff in the past has been 100% merino. Glorious to work with, superwash stuff. This is 75% merino and 25% nylon, so it is absolutely a good sock yarn to make. So it's 4-ply fingering weight yarn, it's self-striping yarn for socks, work over 60 to 80 stitches on 2 to 3mm needles. It says needles for perfect stripes. No, on 2 to 3mm needles, comma, for perfect stripes.
Punctuation.
What an idiot. And it's 100 grams for 425 metres, so it's quite a light fingering weight yarn.
Yeah.
For me, you might want to go up to like 76, and because it's quite thin, you don't want to have the needles too big, because otherwise your stitches will be big and they'll rub together and they'll wear out quickly.
Okay.
So knitters of dense fabric, such as ourselves, we make socks that last forever.
Yes.
Loose baggy socks, great for sitting by the fireplace, but not great for wandering around in your wellies, because the friction wears out the fibres too much. So your stitches are quite small, and there's not so much movement, and they last a bit longer.
Great.
Apparently so. This is only anecdotal. I don't have it. I've got some announcements to make. Can I make my announcements
You
now?
can make your announcements now.
So I'm going to get out of the way.
Shining
No, it's
too
just going to... I'm going to make noise on it, and everyone's going to go, oh, the rattling.
Alright.
That's judgment on me, not on anyone who hates rattling, because everyone hates rattling on a podcast. So, you know this. Actually, the end bit I can't talk about yet, so don't mention that last little bit.
Okay.
It's coming, there's more to do. So, the book. I've finally been let off the leash and I can talk about my book. Haynes Publishers, for those who don't know, in the UK, they make manuals, they make how-to books, and they specialise in car manuals. So the Haynes manual for this model of car, and they break it down to real expert manuals. They're an institution over here, and they're not used to making craft books at all. However, they do have a general publishing arm, and they have commissioned me. I'm really, really proud of this. They've commissioned me to write a how-to knitting manual aimed specifically at men. This obviously unpacks quite a lot of stuff. in this world of the hashtag #MeToo and the struggle for gender equality, which is absolutely right, and I couldn't agree more with it, it's sometimes quite difficult to bring up the concept of a difference between the genders. But I've had to, because this is a book aimed at men, and it's not enough to write a book that just says, here's a knit stitch, here's a purl stitch, and stick a guy on the cover. That doesn't make it a book for men. So I had to find a way of actually being part of that discussion. And I don't think what I've done will be contentious. I hope it won't be. But a little bit of contention is stuff that makes people think, and maybe again we can challenge people's perceptions, which as I've said already, I'm all about. So it's been really interesting journey for me to try and look at what makes a male brain different from a female brain. And of course there are caveats galore and exceptions to every rule, but I've gone from the point of view of what are the things that are traditionally associated with being male brain attributes and the things that are traditionally considered to be female brain attributes, always under the knowledge that not all male brain attributes exist in the brain of a male person, either cis or trans, or non-binary or gender neutral, and also not all female brain brains sit in a female head. There are exceptions and generalisations to every rule, of course. We do.
Can I get my scissors?
Oh, nice, yeah, don't worry. They're lovely. They're camp as all hell as well. Please show them.
But they got a little... So I don't lose them, although I lost them. And I only found them today.
But without that, you probably wouldn't have done.
No.
Tassel on your scissors.
If they go down your side of your sofa, then you can just feel for the tassel, because then you can...
That's actually really shrewd. We should do that with all our DPMs.
Look how sparkly it is.
So it's been really interesting to open up that can of worms and deliberately sort of poke the hornet's nest a bit, but from a point of view that I believe men and women generally are different. And that's not a values-based judgment in any way, shape or form. And I know you're going to write in, and I know some people are going to take issue with this. I'm okay with that because it's something I have investigated myself, and I know that I believe it. What I also believe is that rather than trying to pretend we're all the same, what we should be doing is embracing, celebrating, and learning from each other's differences. We can have the best of both worlds. Rather than saying, you're the same as me, you've got nothing to teach me, I can go, you think in a different way from me, help me to understand that. And I love that. I think that's a really, really interesting perspective. I haven't discussed this with you. I don't know what your views are on that. Feel free to disagree.
No, I do agree. I think we think about things completely differently, and also just, not even just male, female, but like I did my theory test recently, my driving theory test, and I passed with flying colours, which was great. But when I ran through the questions with my husband, and questions that had kind of more than one answer, I was going about it by learning the correct answer to the question. But he looked at it by learning, oh, well, that's quite logical because those three answers you would see in a logical way. So
that's really interesting.
It was really interesting that I didn't see the reason for them being those answers. I just wanted to learn the answers.
That's really interesting. So that's the difference between two people who happen to be a man and a woman. I would, knowing Ian as well as I do, I would say that he is the quintessential male brain type of brain. He happens to be male, that's neither here nor there, but he has those attributes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that you were what would be considered to be the quintessential female brain attributes. I'd say you're you're straddling both. But that's interesting that you say that you and he come from very opposite directions. And is that across the board in your lives together? Do you come at things from those sorts of angles often? Yeah,
generally, I think we balance each other quite a lot in various different ways. Obviously, there's common ground on lots of levels, but in terms of thinking, we certainly come at things from different angles. Definitely,
it's so fascinating. It really. Because obviously there is no answer. There's no one right or wrong. There's no way of saying, well, all people wearing purple t-shirts think like that. I mean, it's that arbitrary in some levels, but we are also products of biology, and my biology is not the same as yours in terms of the chemicals that are going around my blood. My hormonal levels are not the same as your hormonal levels. We have very differing makeups in that way. And we know from studies into mental health and depression and things like that, that our moods and the way we perceive the world as a result of our mood is affected by those chemicals. So therefore my brain is going to process things slightly differently because it's got different things whizzing through it. And yes, there are some ladies that have higher levels of male hormones and vice versa. But that doesn't mean that there's also in the middle of the bell curve is where most people sit. It's kind of what's So I am trying to pussyfoot around it and trying not to be I don't want to make people go, oh, Nathan, you're part of the patriarchy, you're part of the problem. It isn't that, because it's not at all a values-based judgment.
No.
We're equal, but we're not the same.
Yeah, definitely.
And there are lots of women who are much, much better at this kind of stuff than I am. There are lots of men who are better at this stuff than I am. There are some nice people who are better at this stuff than I am, and there are some nasty people who are better at this stuff than I am. So take it all with a pinch of salt. But let's acknowledge that there might be something to it. I think. I don't know if I've got it right. I really don't. I don't know if I've got the tone right. I don't know if I've got I'm hoping I've got all the facts right. But I don't know if I've got what I'm trying to say now correct in the book. Only time will tell. It is now with my publisher. I'm going to make a few tweaks to it as a result of what we've done over the last couple of days. I've noticed things I could have written a bit more clearly. But essentially, it's done. It goes to print in Malaysia on the 19th of July.
Oh, wow.
It's really exciting. And it will be available to buy in the shops in October, ready for the Christmas market. It's
So
book week
exciting.
at Kensington Olympia. There's
cool.
a big where publishers get together and talk to distributors and try to flog their books and products to different people who can get it out there. And my book's been officially launched this week. In fact, it's happening today and tomorrow.
Wow.
It's really, really exciting. That's why I'm off the leash and I can actually talk about it. So check it out. It's got a really, really clever, witty, imaginative title. It's called Men's Knitting Manual.
Does what it says on the tin.
It's the Haynes way. It's very much a Haynes manual, but also because it's such a kind of left field subject for Haynes to do, it's not really. They've also done a book on plumbing for women.
Oh, great.
That sounds a bit sort of like biological. I don't mean that at all. They've also done a book on how to survive a zombie apocalypse.
Oh, wonderful.
Which I know
Even
you'd
better,
love.
Yeah.
It's one of their best sellers, actually.
Actually.
But so they do left field, off the wall things.
Yeah.
But we're trying to go in a slightly different direction with it. We don't want it to look like it belongs in someone's tool shed. We want it to look like it belongs on someone's coffee table, and it's going to hopefully be quite classy and stylish. I'm also trying to challenge the gender stereotyping within it about men knitting, about why it's not just for girls and their grannies, because of course it's not. Hardly anybody who watches this is that. We come from all over different walks of life. And I want to. That said, I have had it read by my tech editor, who does all my knitting patterns, and she said, "Do you know what?" She said, "I know it's a book aimed at men, and it sits there very well," which I was relieved to hear. She said, "But actually, it's more universal than that." She said, "Everyone in my knitting group could benefit from some aspect of this book." I was like, "That's lovely to hear." So if you're thinking, "Oh, I like Nathan, I'd like his first book, but I'm not a man and I'm not a beginner," I never thought I'd write a book for beginners. I don't teach beginners how to knit, so that's kind of weird. And I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's Nathan's book, it's going to be about double knitting, or it's going to be about something." Watch this space. That's all I can say on that. That doesn't mean I've got another book deal at all. I haven't. But one day, now I've written this book, I would like to write the book that I thought I would write, which would be the more expert techniques. It's really exciting. I'm loving it.
Very exciting.
The other exciting thing that I've got to announce is I am going on a tour of New Zealand and Australia later this year, teaching double knitting and Strantarsia to the world at large.
What's Strantarsia?
Talk to them, I'll go and get some.
Do you know what Strantarsia is?
Some of them will.
Oh, that's exciting. Apparently you do know what Strantarsia is. I'm absolutely baffled, have no idea what it is, but I'm very excited.
It's a fun word. Can you think of what 2 words it might be made of?
Strand and intarsia.
Yes, it's exactly that. For anyone who doesn't know what strand tarsia is, this is a little aside, this hat is made with an example of strand tarsia. Intarsia can only be done flat.
Okay.
It can't be worked in the round. There are workarounds. You can kind of go back on yourself, do a little short row join, and then come back on yourself. But essentially that's being flat and you're seaming it as you go.
Yeah.
Strand tarsia is a way of working not pure intarsia, but a panel of stranded knitting on part of the circumference of something that goes in the round. And it is worked in the round, and there are no crazy shenanigans. The grey colour works sequentially in the round and keeps going round and round and round. What you can see here is that there are 2 panels of strand tarsia, not just one, but on the inside it works very much like intarsia. There are no floats travelling across from one to the other. They're not working. If there were only one of these green panels, you would probably expect to see floats going all the way around, being caught in, but no. And because of the lacy texture of this hat, you couldn't have that anyway. I'm going to be teaching people how to do it. I am going to,
Excellent.
so excited, knit August nights. Can, K-A-N. The amazing, the wonderful, the divine Marie Buskey has invited me over to teach at Knit August Nights, and she's just making my life so easy with making this stuff happen. She's quite extraordinary. It's the 23rd to the 25th of August, and it's happening in Napier in New Zealand. It happens there every year, and it's kind of like a cross between a yarn festival and a retreat.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of got both elements combined together. And I shall be teaching the demystifying double knitting classes, my shaping the future of double knitting classes, and strand tarsia. And then after I'm so glad you're here to hear me say this, because I can't say it on my own without feeling like a complete idiot. I have to embrace this. Part of me being there for a select number of people, there are 15 places, you can buy a day with me. She's just laughing.
Which would be a wonderful day.
So you can buy your base registration. You can just go to the festival. You can purchase classes, and those classes will be on offer with me. But on the Thursday, which is I think the 21st, something like that, we're offering 15 people. They'll have an extended workshop with me. It'll be a 6-hour workshop, and I'll be doing mostly based on double knitting, but I'll also be talking about elements of the shaping class as well, bringing that in, depending on what people's abilities. I can throw as much stuff into this class as possible. But the plan is also to start talking a little bit about one-pass brioche and how it relates to double knitting, which is not something I'll be doing with anybody else in New Zealand at all. So that's a really, really exclusive part of that. And then there's dinner, and we can all go to dinner together and have a lovely knit around the fireplace, and people can chat and ask me all sorts of questions about my life as an actor, my life as a person living with HIV, or my life as a knitter. I don't really mind. I'm happy to talk about all those subjects and more besides. So that's going on as part of Cannes. Really, really exciting. Then from Cannes, I am flying to... Now, let me get this right. Oh, could you pass me that piece of paper?
Yes.
I've actually got the information here. So then I will be flying to... from Napier, I'm going down to Dunedin on the South Island. And I will be also spending a couple of days in Queenstown, which apparently is so beautiful. Ben and I were looking at some photographs, and he burst into tears when he saw how beautiful Queenstown is, backed by this massive mountain. It's just like stunning. So on the 28th of August to the 1st of October, I'll be splitting my time between Dunedin and Queenstown. I'll be teaching some classes in all of these places. Then we're flying to Wellington, back up on the North Island, and that's on the 1st of October. We're there until the 1st of September. We're there till the 4th. I wrote October, so I said it. Then we're there till the 4th when we're driving up to over to New Plymouth in Taranaki. And then that's on the 4th we'll be teaching there as well. And hello, Leanne, I know I'm going to be seeing you at last. Hi, I'm so excited. And then on the 6th of September, I'll be driving to Auckland, which is where I started my journey, where I fly in. And I'll be doing some classes there. My sister's coming with me. Did you know this?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I'm so excited.
How
My
exciting.
sister and I are so close. And this last year has really whooped both of our asses in terms of my HIV and the breakup of her marriage. And it has brought us closer together than we ever thought possible. We've always been really close, and we've been there for each other. We've supported each other through some tough times. And we've never had as much as 2 weeks together on our own.
Wow.
It's just never happened.
Yeah.
There's always been other family members around, and of course we're not going to be on our own, but we're doing a lot of the travelling on our own.
Yeah.
I could not be more excited. My
That's
sister
so
is the
great.
most wonderful person on this planet. I say lots of people are wonderful. My sister tops the list. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
My sister's way above everybody. She's a goddess in my life, and I adore her. And so she's doing that much of it with me. It doesn't end there for me. On the 10th of September, I'm flying to Melbourne for a few days. I'll be there till the 14th when I fly to Sydney. So excited.
It's amazing.
I've never been to this part of the world before. I could not be more. I'm beside myself. And then I'll be leaving Australasia on the 19th. So I'll be away. I'll be there for a complete month.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting. Now, here is the... this is going to be the longest podcast episode in the world. You're so much fun to do. Come back often. Here's where I want to talk about What's Tat? Let's do it together. We have to do it like that. Okay, What's Tat?
Oh,
so
sorry,
this is a
yeah.
special episode of What's Tat? It's disgusting, isn't it? It makes you feel a bit dirty doing it.
My fingers feel weird.
As in, what's that?
Yeah.
That is my tattoo. So, I think I've already talked about this particular tattoo on my arm. Do you know this?
Yes,
I
you talk about your...
I think I've already talked about this particular one. If I haven't, I'll do it now anyway as a refresher, but there's a very good reason why I'm talking about this particular one. It's not new, it's part of my arm. And it's this one here. A lot of people think it looks like it says the word love,
Yes.
but how many prongs have the E's got? And there's no
Yeah.
outro. It's just a wiggly line with prongs. So I'll show you on here. It's this one here. See this wiggly line and then these 4 prongs at the side. It's one of the African adinkran symbols that I've got many of on my arm. It's called Nkienkiem, and it means, it literally translates as twisting. But what it signifies is twisting, dynamism and versatility is what I was always told it was. And I've looked at it a little more deeply recently, and it signifies how life throws obstacles at you and how you have to be resilient and versatile in order to overcome them. Well, that's my last year right there. My sister has a tattoo, my wonderful sister Sam has a tattoo on her wrist, which starts off very small and she keeps adding to it, and it's got some leaves coming off. It's all black, it has some leaves coming off it, and some of the fronds of the leaves make the letters of the initials of her children. And recently, because she's out the other side of the divorce now and she's reclaiming her independence and her life, she wanted to add to it and include something that represented my mum, something that represented my dad, and something that represented me.
Huh.
So she's put a red rose for my dad because he's staunchly British English and is very proud to be so. And she has put a sunflower in it for my mum because my mum adores sunflowers and she loves how happy they are and has stained glass of sunflowers in her kitchen window. Beautiful. So she's got that. So she said to me, what do you have any suggestions? And she was thinking along the lines of something to do with love and something to do with music, because to me I signify both for her. And I thought, well, yes, but there's more. I wanted something more specific, something that was us. Now, when I got my 74 tattoos done on my arm, my sister fell in love with Nkienkiem. She fell in love with what it meant, even though I didn't know that later bit. I just thought it meant versatility, creativity and dynamism. And she loved what it looked like. And she said, if I have a tattoo, this was before she ever got a tattoo, she said, if I have a tattoo, maybe I'd like that. And I just because of that, I don't even know that she really remembers saying that, but it really struck a chord with me, and because of that, every time I look at my arm, when I see that one, I think of my sister.
Oh.
So I said, I know what I would like. If you like the idea, it's your body, of course you have the final say. Don't do it unless you like it. Don't do it just because I do. I said this because of what we've both been through this last year, and because of how we have come so close to have a matching tattoo that means that now.
Yeah.
For me would just be beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool.
She's done it.
She's done it.
She's got this is block bold sort of square lines. Hers is just a line drawing of the angles and then the things on the end, and it comes from it's like growing off the plant, and then it becomes in Kim. That's but cool. So we've got a matching tattoo that means something that we both agree with, means something that we've both been through, but also to each of us means the other one.
Yeah. I
do love that.
That's really nice.
And so this year of all years, the fact that we're getting to go away to New Zealand together is just, couldn't be more happy. Now to round up, because this is going on forever, to round up, I've got something in here. Ellen, this is what you've been waiting for. Abbie is the friend I wanted to give your gift to, okay?
Thank you.
Ellen, who is Ellen's Cult on Ravelry. Ellen was in my double-sitting class in Northern Ireland a couple of weeks ago.
Great.
And she put together a pattern which I've talked about last time, so you will know what this is, and Abbie doesn't yet, which is so exciting. I love the fact that anyone who watched last time's episode is way ahead of you, and you're the one who's sitting on the sofa with me.
Yeah.
So, Ellen, in the nicest possible way, and I know she'll know this is meant with love, Ellen's a proper geek.
Awesome.
You and Ellen would be amazing friends. She also makes fantastic Rocky Road stuff. Yeah, see, you are twins separated at birth, I swear to God. And she put together this pattern, and she's put up as a free pattern on Ravelry because it's proprietary copyright stuff, so she can't make money from it. But I talked about it last time, and she made one for me, and she made one for me to give to somebody else. And as soon as I saw it, and Ben said, "Oh my God, you've got to give that to Abbie." I was like, "Yeah, all right, ahead of me, I'm gonna." It's a phone sock.
Oh, cool.
Just you wait.
Yeah, is it even cooler? It's a TARDIS.
They know.
It's a TARDIS. This is awesome.
It says police box around the top.
That's so good.
How much fun is that?
Well done. Thank you.
Isn't that just brilliant?
That's brilliant.
I knew it was going to the right home. I absolutely knew you'd love it.
I love it.
Where's your phone?
My phone's charging. I can go get it. It's charging now.
No. Yeah, I'll get it. Well, you've got a big phone. It's a nice big phone sock as well.
Yeah, it
so
is.
This is going to go in very nicely, I think.
Excellent.
Oops.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I feel it's falling over. Oh, it's perfect.
Perfect. Oops, get it over the edge. There we go.
Way.
Get the windows looking good.
Isn't that just delightful on every level?
Police. This is brilliant.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's perfect colour as well.
I love it. So, Ellen, thank you so much. Abbie has genuinely not seen that.
No, I really haven't. It's great.
And I told her, I said, there's something I'm going to reveal it to you on the camera. So I was like, oh God, what would it be?
It's wonderful.
Abbie, thank you so much for joining me. I've had so much fun. It's more fun with someone else. Dan and Kay, I know why you do it together now. The podcast. Will you come back?
I will.
Hurrah.
I shall not leave it as long.
No, good.
I promise.
Like 2 years.
Yes.
Get back on my sofa. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast episode is definitely a finished object. But remember, life is a work in progress. Just take it one stitch at a time. Lots of love till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.